Hello, on your panel this week is Rachel Penny, Sam J. Hitwell, Claire Brown in May, and Nicholas James. Good evening from the 30th of November. We are back. Hello and welcome to your latest episode of Loose Links. We've taken a little break, but we're coming back fighting and find out we've got a lot to talk about on this show, all on this week's Loose Links. Welcome to the show. This week we talk about gender as Scotland are putting in a new law to make you choose what gender you want to be, but you cannot decide till you are at the age of 18. Do you think that's right? Find out what the panel talk about. We also talk about our other halves, if we have one, and we divulge our information to our other halves when we get home from work to de-stress. But one husband decides to walk into their partner's boss's office and say, this is not acceptable. Find out what we think. Find out if we agree with that. And also, we finish on a red hot topic. Yes, the book is out. And I was one of the first to order it. But find out what we think about this book and the interviews that have happened just before the book came out with Harry. And to be fair, the royal family too. Find out our views all on this week's show. Good evening, panel! It's so good to be back. Good evening, how are you? 30th of November. I gave you a proper break this time, ladies. proper break. 30th of November since we last filmed. We've had technology problems, we've had this, that and the other, but we are back up and running. Two of us on the panel did a show last week, a whole show for an hour, and then it didn't record. So the whole hour was wasted, but the ladies have come back with one extra, which is our Queen of Loose, which Rachel has come back because she phoned me today, ladies, and she said, look, I'm just dying to be on tonight's show. Can you please put me on the show? Rachel, I want to briefly talk to you. We're just going to briefly talk about, ladies, let's just ask you first. Sam and Claire, have you had a nice time off? Are you pleased to be back? Are you all relaxed and all of that? I just want to briefly talk about, I had the privilege of taking a very pretty lady out on Saturday night, which was Rachel Penny. Me and Rachel Penny went to
Who took her out?
We went to the New Theatre Royal and we watched our very own on the stage, which is Chris Clark. We watched from, was it Gold to Rio? Gold to Rio. Gold to Rio. And he is, and I didn't realise he was, he's a Duran Duran main singer. And I have got to say, his voice is incredible. Absolutely incredible, ladies. I was utterly shocked because we were both sat talking to it. What does Chris do in the band? I was like, I don't know. This is all a surprise to me this evening. I don't know what he's going to be, but the curtains opened. There was no him. I was like, where's Chris? Please don't say he's phoned in ill and gone home. But he came out for the second part of it. They sort of mixed, didn't they, Rachel, between like Spandau Ballet and Duran Duran. But Chris's voice is absolutely outstanding. Do you agree, Rach?
Yeah, it was good. They did they split the evening up between them, three tracks each, and then kept alternating. They're very good, yeah.
And honestly, it is on our Facebook page. They are on tour with 2023. They're going many places, so please have a look on their website. And if they are just around the corner from you, it's about £24 a ticket, but it's worth every single penny. So make sure, penny. Make sure you go and watch it. And Luce will do a night out and we'll go and watch him at some point because he was just incredible. But let's go on to this week's show. Hello, Chris, if you're watching. Just let's go on to this week's show. We talk about our first topic this evening is kind of sensitive. So any sensitive viewers out there, just please remember this is for people's opinions. None of us have walked this path, but it's turned into news, so we've decided to talk about it. But remember, this is not factual, this is for people's opinions. So we talk about this evening, a Labour leader in Scotland has decided that 16 years old is too young for anybody to decide what gender they are. And he is pushing forward to make sure there is a new law set in place that in Scotland you cannot decide what gender you are until you hit the age of 18. So ladies, this did get me thinking, do you think he has a point? Can we make those changes at the age of 16? Can we decide at the age of 16 what gender we are?
I don't know, I think it's a difficult, not a difficult one, but you know, they have ages in for different things for a reason. I mean, so why at 16 are you allowed to have sex? Why is it 18 that you are allowed to go in a pub? But then when you go into a supermarket to buy it, you've got to have ID, you've got to be 25. So, you know, this law, I don't know a lot. I don't know any trans gender people. So, you know, I can't actually think what they're going through. But, you know, if you sort of took yourself to be a transgender person, to be in the wrong body, you know, you must know at a certain age. So for a lot of children, you know, I mean, I know children, boys play with girls' toys and dressing up and all that. But it's a difficult one because they say that boys, girls are more mature than boys. So, you know, would they at 16 know? But, you know, if they know like at an early age, I think at 16, and with their parents' consent as well, because I assume they'd have to have their parents' consent. You know, is that okay? Why do they have to then wait till 18? Personally,
you see, I have two members of my family who are trans, and they are, well, one of them's just turned 18 at the end of last year, and the other one is, I think she's about. The other one is about, I think, about 14, and they knew early on that something wasn't right. They, you know, with trans people, they know something's not right. They can feel it, especially when you've got the hormones going through. And you know, I have a friend who has a trans son, and when he was growing up and started developing in that, he got really depressed. He went hard. He was, you know, he couldn't handle what his body was doing because it was not right for him at that age, going through puberty and everything. So I think 16 is fine. I mean, like you said, you know, people can have sex at 16. It's legal to have sex at 16. So why can't they decide on their gender at that age? They know by that age, because obviously they've been through puberty and puberty's telling them something's not right.
Do you agree, Rachel?
The ultimate thing, decision that somebody can make is when that age is having sex at 16, that Claire just spoke of. And so you can create a new life at 16. That is the ultimate. So to making a decision about your own body, I think that there has to be things enforced to protect the person who wants to change themselves in a way that they feel that they've been born into. And I think when I was 16, I thought I was old. I thought I was old enough, but look, being a mother, you look at your children, you think to yourself, they're my babies still. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're doing. But I did when I was at that age myself. I knew I was old enough to make any decision that I wanted. But I think there has to be laws in place for such a monumental thing to happen to a body. So I think 16 you do know, but I think possibly there should be quite a period of time of counselling and
But they go
bringing
through
it.
counselling anyway, is it, you know, when they first kind of figure out that, you know, when they start getting those things going on in the head, oh, I'm not right, something's not right. They do go through counselling as kids as well when they figured out that, you know, I'm trans, I'm in the wrong body. They go through the counselling as well, because
It's still very young
like I know
though.
my family members have done that.
It's still very young though, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah.
Coming out of, because let's face it, if a child is in school time, it's going to mess up their schooling and their life as a teenager, a younger person anyway. So I do think
I
that
think that's down to whether school will actually support the student. If the school
well,
supports the
it's
student,
going to
then
take a long time. It's going to take a long time for when they talk about trans, are we talking about surgery?
Yes, and the other thing that I've got rolling in my head is that everybody's journey is very different.
yes.
There's no individual or two people that are on the same journey and where they make it to. My problem that I have, I'm sort of on the fence. I sort of get what Rachel's saying from an older generation, but I also get what Sam is saying about 2023 and where we are now. The thing is, I knew I can only go on the basis of me, so my sexuality is gay. But I knew from a very, very young age, 7, 8, that I was gay. But there was a long transition of that because I didn't accept it to myself to the age of 18. I came out at 18 and I was happy then to tell the world. So the journey is very different. The question that makes me lead on to all of what you've just said is that if someone's going to put a law in place when it comes from government, do you think, because from the article that I've read, this man has just made the decision, has just gone ahead, this law is going ahead. There's nothing to say that he's done research or he's gone to talk to these people that are travelling this journey. So do you think when it comes to any law that is to do with identity and gender, that research should be done? There should be a law before a law about finding out information about what these roads and what these journeys are like before putting anything in place.
There are charities, there are quite a lot of charities out there, local and national charities out there, who could who they could, you know, these MPs can go and talk to people there, and they can do the research. There's nothing stopping them. But I think sometimes some people may have like a personal agenda or something, or, you know, they've had problems in the past with certain people and they just go, or it's just pure laziness. They'll just go, right, well, I can't be asked to go and do research. I'm just going to put this through anyway. But yeah, they should really go and talk to people, talk to the community, talk to the trans community about it before making any kind of decision. Because then it's based on what people are actually saying.
Well,
So what if somebody is responsible for their child then till the age of 18 and they make the decision for that child and then that child says,
well, ultimately you're not making a decision for a child, because a child would come to you first. That child or that person would come to you as a parent. You wouldn't be going to them as a parent and saying to them, do you think you're in the right body?
no, what I'm saying is you are responsible for a child for when they're in your home. When they are yours, you speak for them. For
Yeah,
quite a
and
while.
I completely get it.
When they're out there in their own world.
I
But
completely,
what if that child turned around to me? What if my son turned around to me and said, "Do you know, I really wasn't in my own mind, and you
But
made
what,
it
there's that point, and I get that point, Rachel, completely. But what if your child says to you at 21, I resent you for stopping me at the age of 14 not to let me change to the gender that I want to be? So there's both there's both sides of the coin to that.
Their decision.
mean,
They can't have it both ways. You can't have the life both ways. Either they have to be of an age where they are responsible for their own decision. It's nobody else's decision to be. I wouldn't want the responsibility put on me, as a child, to come to me to say, I am this, I am that. I want you to do this for me. I would have to wait till they were old enough to have have the right knowledge and to make sure they knew their own mind to do what they wanted to do, to be the person they wanted to be. Not my responsibility.
Sam, do you mind if we just go to Claire? Because she's been trying to jump in for about 2 minutes now. So can we just go over to Claire to see what Claire needs to say?
Oh, now I've got loads of things in my head because every time a topic come up, I'm going, yo. So a couple things. It's like weight loss surgery. A really good friend of mine has had weight loss surgery last year, but she was put on a waiting list. And she went through lots of different things. Like you say, you do get counselling because it is a really a life-changing thing, which, again, with this will be. Now, who pays? Is it going to be through the NHS that pays for the operation? You see, because as most of you know, my son has got cerebral palsy. Now, he could have had a surgery done in the spine, which there's a doctor in America who does it, who's got 100% rate, but it costs thousands and thousands. Now, they do it in England on the NHS, but you have to be selected. You've got these, do you know what I mean? So for this person, the change is going to be traumatic enough anyway, because are they ready for it? Which, like you say, at a young age, so they've got to wait till they're 16. But what age do you then get counselling? How long is the waiting list? Because, not like weight loss has been around, which transgender probably has, but not how it is today with people wanting to get the change. You know what I mean? Like you say, I am sat on the fence because I just think, and like Rachel said, at 16, you as a parent are still, to look at, responsible for that child.
Yeah.
So do you then say, you're my responsibility, I wouldn't want you to have it done, and then the child resents it later, but then say, right, you're now old enough. I am really sorry as a parent that I didn't give you that then, but now you're an adult. That is your decision to make that change if you are ready for it now.
Ladies, I'm going to stop you there because we could talk about it all night, but we slowly need to move on. So you are the 5th panel member out there. If you are going through this journey or change, please come forward because we would love to interview you and hear some more information about it. But do you believe at the age of 16 that you should be given the right, any age really, even 8, 9, 10, do you think you should be given the right to choose your gender at that time and what you identify as? Moving on, ladies, we're going to talk about the NHS strikes because they have been all over our news for weeks about people coming out and striking. people dying in ambulances, ambulances not getting to people because we don't have the staff. But after all the news and all the information that has been passed on to us, do you believe, ladies, the NHS have done a right thing by stepping forward and saying, I'm not accepting this anymore, and taking strikes? Do you think it's been right? Let's go to you first, Claire.
Well, again, you've got the flip side of the coin, because, you know, we've been through this pandemic. They've worked their socks off, but they are, you know, it's a matter of life and death. Then you could say, like, well, the posties, they then went on strike, but, you know, but then you have backlog of all the mail coming up at the 1st of February. You've got the teachers' strike. You know, are you going to do it or are you not? Me as a TA, I'm not saying which way, but if I strike, my head has got to then ask somebody else to do my job. So will somebody who I work with want to do that when I'm trying to strike for them? You know, but me, if I don't strike, I'm striking because I need the money and I won't get paid if I don't do it. So, you know, for the NHS to do this, they're saving lives. So, you know, and they need recognition for what they do. You know, like people dying in ambulances not turning up because there isn't one. You know, the government have got to realise that it is a serious thing. You know, again, we are lucky we've got an NHS. You know, what do they do? It's really a difficult one.
I mean, since the obviously the ambulance strikes and everything, I have been thinking, you know, it's been kind of like in the back of my mind, what if something happens to me, because I have like various chronic illnesses and things like that. And I'm like, you know, what if something happens and I need an ambulance and they can't get to me? And that kind of plays on my mind, but I do understand why they're doing it. I do understand that, you know, they need that recognition. Obviously, you know, when after the pandemic, they gave them a 1% pay rise, and it was like, seriously, just 1%. You know, that was ridiculous. So, you know, I do understand why they're doing it, but it puts fear into people like me. You know, if something happens to me and I need to get to hospital quick, am I going to be able to get there in time? Because I've been having a lot of heart problems, so that doesn't, you know, all the stress, it doesn't help. But like I say, I do understand why they're doing it.
I completely get what you're saying as well, Sam, as well. And knowing that I was going to do this topic this week at the grand old age now of 24, I've decided that I was going to watch Question Time. I saw none of you questioned my age then at 24. I'm quite happy about that. So
there was a blip. I never heard the age.
I sat and watched the other night. I sat and watched Question Time for the first time ever, and I thought, you know what? They're talking about the ambulance strikes, the NHS strikes. I'm going to do a little bit more research on this. And as you know, we've got a Conservative government at the moment that are very, very forward in discussing. We are doing this, we are doing that, we are doing the other. But I'm going to talk about Labour, because it was Labour that spoke up. And Labour, well, why aren't you doing this? And why aren't you doing this? And why ain't this put in place? And why ain't that done? And why aren't this being considered? And I'm going to stand up for nurses. And all I was thinking in my head is, well, you've had your bloody chance and you didn't do anything different. So how can you sit on Question Time and stay Conservative, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, you're not doing the other, when actually you weren't doing it when you were in power?
The thing is, we're in different times now.
We just throw the can all the time. We just throw it to the next person. Well, that's not our responsibility. That's theirs. When are we going to own our own country?
The thing is, we're in different times now. So, you know, because the Conservatives have been in power, what, 13, 14 years now? So, you know...
No, not 13, 14 years, no. Labour wasn't that long ago.
I know I was at college when the coalition was in, and that was 2010, I do believe. So it's been at least 10 years. But they've been in power for like over a decade now, and
But
so,
that screwed, Sam.
change
I
and things
don't
like
believe
that.
I don't believe any government can fix us. We're so screwed. We are so utterly screwed, and the country is so messed up. And all we do as bystanders down here is just blame the government all the time. Well, that's not my responsibility. I want to be like people waiting 8 hours. When they're running to the reception desk going, I've been sat here 8 hours. Yes, I get conditions and I get stuff like that. But in the same respect, this is a free NHS that you are getting. There are many countries that have to pay just to see a doctor for 5 minutes.
It's getting like that, isn't it? It's getting like that because you cannot get to see anybody these days. You cannot get tests done. It's a bit of a you know, like Russian roulette, really. You're having to pay to get onto the ladder of help with the NHS. So if you don't get a diagnosis with private, you can possibly then go from private to the NHS from there. If not, you have to pay for the whole lot yourself, because these doctors and nurses going on to be bank staff, or why wouldn't you? You're getting paid twice as much practically.
Yeah, I agree with
and
that.
I mean, it's like on Friday.
Though, is there? There isn't any job satisfaction at all when you go on bank staff, because you have to work very, very hard, because you're here from one post to the next. But the thing is that ambulance drivers haven't even asked for a certain amount of pay rise. You know, the RCN, the Royal College of Nursing, they have asked for 19%, which is a ridiculous amount, but they know they're going to be bashed down to a certain degree. But the thing is, there's a lot of people out there that need more money. We all need more money. In my opinion, we all have to knuckle down. We all have to make sacrifices. As Arishi said, we all have to make sacrifices. He's not making many himself.
No.
But the thing is, if you do get you know, 19% on top of what they're getting now, that's a 41,000 pound wage you're earning a year. You know, it's a lot of money. You shouldn't be on the breadline for that. You shouldn't be going cap in hand at you know, food stock, whatever you call them, forget
Food
what
banks.
you call them. Food banks, that's right. You shouldn't be going, but there are a lot of people. What about the homeless? What about, there's so many people that need help.
And I get that. I get what you're saying, Rachel, but in the same respect, we have got to remember, and we easily forget, in the same respect, these people risked their lives through COVID. We had the comfort of our homes, of our families, of furlough, of all of that. They didn't get any of that. Some of them had to move out of their own homes, video time their children, because they couldn't risk coming home to pass COVID on to our kids. We need to give them some sort of thank you. We need to give them some sort of, you were on the line every single day. And sometimes we forget that as people that are looking from the outside in.
This is the NHS we're talking about. You've got people in war-torn countries where we're sending our troops over, and they what rise do they get putting their lives on the line? What do they get when they finish when they come out of their tour of duty? They get put on the streets to be homeless.
What about as teachers and TAs? You know, we went into school and we were looking after the children of the doctors and nurses.
But Claire, in the same respect,
I'm making it lighter. Yes.
Did you, in the same respect, in the nicest possible way? Yes, you did go in as a teacher.
Don't you be nasty to me.
But did you witness anybody die in the school? Did you have to hold a hand because nobody else was next to that bed?
That wasn't my job. I didn't go in to be a doctor or a nurse.
Yeah, but that's what
I don't want. I can't deal with that. You know I can't.
Yeah, but do you know
But
what
yeah,
I mean? That's what we need
not-
to.
I get
I'm
that.
not
I get that. But like with
I'm
what
not
Rachel
saying-
said,
yeah,
what
that-
Rachel said, with
I'm
all
not
the
saying
people who go to
that,
war and that.
I'm not saying that this job was any more, it was be difficult, but why is it that when you do a job and you do your job right, why is it you have to get more for that job because you did it damn well right and you did it well? Because you go into a job, you get paid for a job, and because you did it well, you're expected to get more. The thing is, I know the NHS do well. They do fantastically well. We're all in this pit. We're all in this country together. We're all in this, we're all worried about where the next penny's coming from, where the next food, cooked meal is coming from. People are living in their cars. People are desperate. There's going to be a bloody revolution at this rate because it's got a knock-on effect of every single thing in this country is going to pot. Even like Claire was saying about the Royal Mail. How long has that been going? Hundreds of years. It's been privatised. It's been ripped. The guts have been ripped out of this country. And
Rachel, I could argue with you all night, but we need to move on. So tell us what you guys think out there. Do you think our NHS have been looked favourable upon the COVID strike and also the strikes that are doing now? Do you believe that that people from our hospitals should be going out and making a stand, making sure you have your say? Right, I've got a bit of a controversial one for you ladies. Do you like a controversial topic? So Sainsbury's have been under the eye and apologised for clothing that is heavily criticised online for appearing to ignore women's safety. The supermarket said it has been axed the in-store poster, which features a woman wearing a £24 wrapped dress and reads, "For walks in the parks or strolls in the dark." So after this advert was released, a male went into head office of Sainsbury's to complain about the advert and said, "You are using women like meat on the street, and this does not protect women. It undermines them even more with adverts that you are producing." Ladies, are you shocked that it was a male that complained about this?
Not particularly, but I think
really.
quite no way is a supermarket going to tell me how to behave and look after my safety. If you haven't got the sense you were born with in the first place, then it's ludicrous.
But in the same respect, Rachel, what the argument that I have on this topic is that it was a woman that produced this advert. It was a woman that set the advert up. It was a woman that said the line for walks in the street or dark nights in the park. Now, my argument is, if a man had written that advert and a man had put that advert up, would you be more critical of the man than the woman?
It's a tough one.
Silence is
It is a
golden.
tough one because I see lots of adverts, but whoever wrote it, I wouldn't know if it was male or female anyway. You know, like if I read that and like what Rachel said, well, I'm my own person. You know, if I want to walk, blah 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 blah, I wouldn't have looked at it and thought, well, that's a woman's wrote that or a man's wrote that. Personally, I wouldn't.
But Claire, what's the line that women use a lot? Oh, I bet a man's wrote that. I bet man's researched into that.
Well,
I bet
some women, not all women, some women are nice and don't like to say things like that.
I don't do that.
Do we?
Where's
No.
common sense gone? Where's common sense gone in this world? You know, it does sound ridiculous, but a walk in, and what was the line? A walk in the park?
it said
A night in the dark.
Yeah. It said for walks in the park or strolls after dark.
Well, strolls after dark, that might mean a romantic stroll with your loved one or something like that. I wouldn't think it was going to be a walk in the park playing chicken across the road and into the darkness just to get mugged.
Rachel's on one tonight, and she's proper on one.
That's because I fell
She's
asleep
missed it,
and
Nick.
fell down the back of the settee, and it kept ringing all night, and I couldn't get to my phone because it was you. So I'm looking like this, nothing on and no makeup on. And
But do you honestly, girls, if we really think about it, if you honestly strip it back, we are more, when it comes to adverts and stuff like that for women, we are more critical on men than we are women. And this is a man. So what I'm stating to you is, it's not a woman that's walked into the supermarket and said, hold on, you're not putting that about women. It's a man that's gone into the supermarket
It
and
just
said,
goes to show how much times have changed and how the world has evolved. And you know, obviously nowadays men aren't as possessive of women, and women have more rights nowadays. I just think it's just the fact that the world has evolved, and it's a good thing, you know, if he's looking out for women and that. I mean, I think that's a good thing, but it just goes to show how much we've evolved.
I don't believe anything
in
anybody tells
2023.
me. I probably think about 1,000 women probably complained, and probably two or three men did, and so just picked up the one man. I don't believe anything that's reported these days.
but don't you feel proud of that, Rachel? Don't you feel proud that a man has stood up for women? That a man has gone in and said, this is not acceptable? I'm not saying at all on this advert, and I know what you're saying about reported, you don't believe it, but doesn't that give you sense of relief, sense of calm, that actually it's not just women fighting for rights anymore and saying, hold on a minute, that isn't true? Blokes, I call myself a feminist. I am very much a feminist. I will stand up for any woman. It doesn't bother me, gender, non-binary, transgender. It goes back to our first subject, doesn't it? But don't you feel like we've come a long way? That actually, that it's, what I'm trying to get across is that it's a man that has reported this, not a woman, but a man. And what I'm trying to say is, do we need to get away from, when we see an advert that women don't like, well, about a man's wrote this? Do we need to get away from that saying? Could that be part of hate crime, that we are two genders fighting against each other? Do you know what I mean? We need to look at it a little bit more seriously.
Again, though, is it just something for somebody to moan about?
Definitely.
I don't, like you say, if you pick everything, then there's always an argument there about something. And yeah, I think it's great that a man you know, stuck up for women in that respect. But like Rachel said, there was probably 1,000 women who moaned about it.
And that's what my argument is, Claire. That's what I always hear from a woman. Yeah. So you can say, look at this story, women. Absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. A male is stuck up for females. But a woman would give me what you are giving me now. Well, yeah, there is that. About 1,000 women walked into the supermarket. There's not one of you that's gone, fantastic, absolutely amazing news to hear.
Well, Sam says that we've evolved. I don't think we have at all. I think there was more men who'd stick up for women in my mum and dad's younger times, and they'd be more chivalrous and more gentlemanly, and stuck up for women like that. But everything, like, it has evolved in some. Everything is evolved. Technology, speed of things happening, and women get into different jobs, and equality. Yes, they have. But why are we so amazed at a man making a stand on a woman's behalf like this? I think it's ludicrous.
Why do you say the same saying all the time? Like you've just said, Rachel, you've just gone, well, that man's walked into a supermarket, but I bet 1,000 women walked in after him as well. Straight away, you're on the defence of female. You're on the defence.
I'm just saying, it's not, you're making out it's something absolutely wonderful. And why shouldn't it? It's it's a daft story. I think it's a real daft story.
Oh, I don't agree.
I do. I think it's a daft story.
Don't agree.
don't
But
agree.
let's move on, ladies, because we're going to talk about your personal partners in life now, if you have one. I'm not mentioning if I have one or not. I'm not going to tell the world that I'll have one, but I can still talk about it. So this week there's been a story about relationships. So ladies, I'm going to ask you that you come home from work, it's a very, very long day, massively, massively long day. And every night you've walked into your husband and or your partner or your girlfriend, whoever, and you've exploded. You've talked about how stressful a day has been, how manic it's been, how disorganized it's been, this, that, and the other. You've had enough, you're looking for a new job. But one husband decides to take that a little bit further. And the following day walks into his wife's boss's office and says, "My wife is stressed. This is unacceptable how you are treating her." Ladies, you go in the next morning and your boss pulls you in to say your husband, partner, girlfriend, or boyfriend has stated this to you. How would you react when you got home?
Well,
I'd be mortified.
well, like I say, I haven't got a partner. So,
Neither have I.
you know, so thinking about it at this moment in time, I would be mortified. Now, if I had one, I would know his personality. You know what I mean? It depends on the person, and you know, what exactly did you say? Like, yes, she's stressed and that, but I don't know. Is it wrong? I mean, you're coming home every day stressed and that, so why don't I say something? Why does my husband then have to go in to do it? Because then I've got to go back
Behind
to
your back
work.
as well, Claire, behind your back. So this husband went
Yeah,
in.
that's what I'm saying. It's like, how did they approach it? Is he telling you then everything that's gone on, and then you've got to go back to work? Oh, we've had,
GPDR, there's many things you could have been in trouble for, especially
Yeah.
if he blurts everything out that this member of staff has been doing this individual has done this person who supported, my wife supports this person. GPDR and everything, isn't it? So do you
Totally.
do you think it's important to express how you feel at the end of the day to a partner, Rachel? Do you think that's important, that they know where you are in life and how you're feeling?
Yeah, because you should be able to offload on each other, support each other in the work. It also depends, I think, the type of job that it is and how it's actually affected, how the stress has affected that person. If you're worried about their physical and mental health to a serious degree, then maybe you could go into the employer and say, you know, my wife is I'm really worried about her, and put it forward that way. Yes. If you're just going in to say, come on, sort yourself out, my wife's important to me, and you be a nice boss, stop on your wrist, then I'd have something to say, I think.
We see, I haven't got, like I say, a partner, but I have got an 18-year-old son. And every morning when I go out to work, he always says, "Have a good day, Mum. Love you." I go, and I come back and I go into his room. "How was your day, Mum?"
Oh,
You know, and sometimes
sweet.
I'll go, "Oh, do you know what? So then the next day I'll say, "How was it today?" You know, and I could just melt. But then
It's
if he
just
went,
showing,
if I
it's just
knew
showing
behind,
consideration, isn't it? It's about respect and consideration for that other person, really, isn't it?
but if he then behind my back, I know it's my son, went into school and says, "My mum's coming home stressed," I don't know how to do that with my son, because I just think, oh God, I've really like made him worry, you know?
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, like I
Different,
say,
innit?
it's
And I suppose, like, because my second question is, what do you think a healthy relationship is? But I suppose on my journey of 25 years, I think there's many things that I've considered and thought about when it comes to relationships, because without going, if you're watching, hello, but without going into detail, and someone's recently walked back into my life, not as relationship, not as love potential. Somebody has just walked back into my life, and I know he watches this, so hello if you're watching. But now, when it was an ex, I can say it was an ex. But when I was talking to him about what his relationship is now and what he has now, I'm not going into detail about it. We'll be here all night. What his relationship is now, I think, thank God it's not me. Thank God it's not me. Do you know, I wish you all the best. It's like that new Flowers song by Miley Cyrus, isn't it? I wish you all the best, but actually, an ex is an ex for a reason, and you'll never come in there this again. Next, see what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you think a person should walk into your life? Right, I've left it, ladies. I've left it to the very last subject. And I know it's Rachel and Claire's favourite subject that they love to talk
I've
about.
found the pub now, Claire.
Absolutely
Let's
love to
go.
talk about.
Shall I
But,
take the back seat here?
but somebody has released a book. So
Doing
we need
that
to
with
talk
Emma
about this,
Clark.
ladies, about, I was going to show a video, but it's 4 minutes long, so it's going to take up the time. But Trisha Goddard had a conversation this week with Piers Morgan, stating that she stuck up for Harry. She was basically saying that I believe what Harry said in this video and in this book and what he said and this, that and the other. And Piers Morgan went, well, you don't know about racism. Actually, on either side of the party, so on either side of that, on being white or on being black, are white people allowed to judge black people's lives? And should black people judge white people's lives? Actually, when it comes to race, should we just stay in our own race gate and not have an opinion on other people's cultures or backgrounds?
Well, then you're just going off in a tangent then, because it's not just necessarily race. It's on about, it's an opinion, isn't it? It's a freedom of speech. So, you know, it's a bit difficult to say, right, well, I'm white, so, you know, you're black, I'm not gonna, you know, it's just really, really difficult because, like, as I say, I don't know a lot about black culture, as I don't know a lot about gays and lesbians and all that, you know. So for me to give an opinion on that, which I don't know nothing about, and as in the black heritage, you know, I'm not saying I can't, how I feel about, you know, years ago with the slave trade and all that, you know, I've got an opinion. I couldn't even understand how, you know, they must feel. So you know, so it's really difficult. I can give my opinion on how I would feel as they could, but who's
Rachel,
right when we've not trodden in their shoes?
Rachel, I know you haven't personally read the book, but I know you've seen interviews and we've had many discussions over Harry. Do you believe Harry has done the right thing by producing this?
No, I don't. Well, it's I think it's an all warts and all type of book, isn't it? I haven't read it. I don't want to read it. But he's not behaved like a royal should behave. He's been brought up in a way that has a little bit more integrity and a little bit more dignity than is shown on there. Even getting through to it, the frostbite on his todger. He's written about that. You know, it's not royal, is it? It's not regal. But I do believe in as much of what he's doing with the paparazzi. I do believe that. But there's lots of flaws in that book. Photographs of the paparazzi, which
There's no photos. There's no photos.
Well, no, not in the book, but photos where he's explained like the foundations of the reason why he's brought the book out, and how he's said how his mother was hounded by the paparazzi, and the pictures that have come out in the papers, and all the way through with him and Meghan, their marriage. the paparazzi, those pictures and photographs are old photographs, have been proven to be on different stories than he's portraying. And it brings home the reason why he's brought this book out is mainly because of how the press and this country has hounded his wife and his mother. Well, his mother, first of all, now his wife, and he's doing it to protect her. And he's bringing out that the fact that the establishment, the royal family, have endorsed a lot of this because they've given the press the food for their stories half the time. But a lot of this has been embellished with false accusations. And quite honestly, if he doesn't want to be part of the royal family, why didn't he just go? And it's an awful thing to happen to the legacy of his grandmother. She was a wonderful woman. She was a fantastic monarch. And to do this the year after she died, you know, oh, look at Claire. Who knitted that?
This is, go on,
My
Claire.
auntie. My auntie.
This is where I jump in.
Oh,
Because, Rachel, I would completely and utterly stand by everything you had said, everything you had just said there,
Except
if this hadn't have happened twice. So, in my eyes, we never learnt anything from Diana. We never, ever learned anything from Diana. Harry did an interview, Diana did an interview. Diana spoke up, Harry spoke up. But for some reason, we've all got this protection over the royal family. Now, if people were saying in this meeting, yes, I don't agree with what Harry's put in here, yes, the press and this, that and the other, but actually, royalty should have taken some responsibility in their story. Royalty should have supported a little bit more, but nobody's ever saying that. We're all just throwing the outcast was Diana, the outcast was Meghan, and all we are ever doing is throwing those people right under the bus. And we are protecting the royal family. Now, I want one of you to state to me here, okay, you don't agree with this, but tell me something the royals have done wrong. Because I'm not hearing that. I'm not hearing that the royals have done anything wrong. Well, actually, as I stated, I wouldn't have bought this book. I stand up for mental health. So I can only go on what Meghan has said. I've listened to both sides. I have listened to the royals. I've listened to Harry and Meghan. If Prince Philip was to come, Prince Philip, what's his name? King Charles was to come up on an interview tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, I would be watching it like I watched Harry. I am very, very much on the fence. But when we read back on Diana, Diana threw herself down the stairs while pregnant because she was not supported by the royals and she thought it would be better to end her life than to carry on living with a baby inside her, with a potential king inside her. Harry, I think he's the man stuck in the middle. He's completely the man stuck in the middle. Two women that have been really important to him in his life. And actually, he's just watching what happened to his mum as a child all over again. Oh, you have nothing to say, ladies.
Oh yeah, I have. He is a royal. So let's just, like what Rachel says, you know, say what you want, because who knows who's going to believe what, because you don't. Because like I don't know, like Diana, who said Diana threw herself downstairs?
It's been recorded, and it's been, if you look at, there's a Diana thing at the moment about the recordings and stuff like that. She told somebody in a recording that she tried to throw herself down the stairs while pregnant because she was not supported by the royal family. And every time she went to the royal family, what on the recordings on this documentary, what did the royal family do? Shut up, Diana. What are we doing to Meghan now?
Well,
shut up, Meghan.
They're royal, aren't they? I mean, it's a different world. It's a different entity. I know we're in like 2000 and that. I don't, like I say, with everything, with trans, with being black, being white, being coloured, I'm not royal. I don't know how, that's their circle to say, no, we're not talking about that. And yeah, like you say, mental health, if she threw herself down the stairs. Now, I can't say why did she marry him? Was that just all set up? Could she have said no? Because I don't think she ever loved him, because I think Camilla was always in the picture, but they wanted heirs, didn't they? And Diana was a shy, very attractive young woman.
To what end is this book? What's going to come out of it?
Harry's side. Harry's side.
Have you heard his interview on American TV? He was on a chat show, and he was just like anybody else you'd speak to. Fist bumping and all this talking about his John Thomas, and it's not royal. It's just not royal, is it?
But in the same respect, Rachel, they are stating that if royals don't change for this new generation that are coming forward, that if we are not relatable to royals in any sort of way, when the older generation has died off, is there going to be a monarchy anymore? If we don't change the way we do stuff.
The Queen came. Yeah, well, you're lucky that we have changed, because your head would have been chopped off years ago.
She had to get that bit in.
Yeah, well, I'd have enforced that law, that rule. But the thing is, the royal family is a different, as Claire said, it's a different entity. It's a different culture. It's a completely different. It has to be a more aloof. It has to be above everything else. But the Queen allowed things to happen. The Queen allowed people in. Commoners come in, and it's their downfall now that royals don't marry royals.
So are you saying to me, Rachel, then, to be a royalist, you can't suffer mentally? You're not allowed to suffer mentally at all.
Who said
that? Because that's what you're saying. To be a royal, there's a.
I'm saying.
Yeah, but you said to be a royal, you need to be a certain standard to be a royal. Well, what if you don't hit that royal?
No, I did not. I said you had to be royals not marrying royals, and they are brought into the world with a certain what's the word? They're brought into the world not to be
etiquette.
Yeah, they've got etiquette. They know how to behave.
Yes, they do. Yes, and they speak like that,
mental health at all. Anyone can suffer from mental health. Oh God. Oh, blooming heck! I've got that mad. I've broken my bracelet. Oh God.
Well, all I am saying is, and if we are going to defend the royals, we have to look at the other side of the coin as well. And what I am saying is, we have to sit on the fence as people. We can't be all royal, or we can't be all Harry, because in the same respect, as I said to you, the royals have not learned. This has happened twice. Diana did a major interview on BBC all those years ago and did exactly what Harry has done going forward. She never wrote a book. Diana never wrote a book, but she had a secret man come in and do recordings so he could write a book. So it's been done in both ways. And the thing is, we then can't just... to me, the royal family have just gone, shut up. They haven't supported. And if we're talking about, we haven't got too long left, but if we look at the campaigns like the Me Too campaign, and women speaking up, and women having a voice, and this, that, and the other, but from the top, we're saying to women, shut up. Don't say a word, shut up. To be a royal, you can't have that view. You can't have your mental health. You can't have this, that.
But it's not just royal. You're talking. It's not just royal. With Harry and Meghan, it's a lot of things. You have got an actress marrying. you have got a black woman marrying. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's not just about.
But it needs to change, Claire.
But the only way it can
It's Harry's
change.
got the mental health as well, isn't it? It's not her.
Yeah,
And
she went. Yes, it is her. She went and asked the royal family for help for her mental health. It is
That's
her.
what she said on the
asked.
Oprah.
No,
That's
she
what she
didn't.
said on the Oprah interview. She actually said that I'm not okay. You know, I need some help. And they were
She
apparently the
knew
reply
Diana's
she
story
got
then, didn't she, to a
was,
certain degree?
yeah, well, I mean, Diana, I mean, she was so, you know, it was so bad for her that she knew, didn't she? You know, it got to the point for her.
So we'll never know the truth. It's all been orchestrated. Like she goes into the royal family. She snares the grandson of the queen, and she brings it all back now, and she's bringing back to life Diana's death.
And I get that. I completely get that. But Rachel, put it into personal perspective. So we're talking about this from a third party looking in. So put this into personal perspective that one of your family members has gone into marriage as a royal and comes to you as a family member and says, I am suffering and I'm not being listened to. I'd rather be off this earth. I'd rather die. I can't do this anymore. Are you going to say, well, that's the life of a royal, get on with it? Or would you defend your family member and go, no, this isn't right, something needs to change?
I wouldn't take on the royal family, but I'd hope my child would have more sense than to actually go in there in the first place.
But no, I'm not saying you, I'm saying
you've got to be equipped. It's big. It's not just a step onto a different ladder. It's a complete
Different
cultural
world.
world.
And a lot of people
ready.
would say, you made your bed, you lie in it. And I'm not saying that for mental health, because things have evolved. And like you said, Nick, things have got to change, but not like that. Not like the royal making a book and show, like, you know, everything that is put in it.
I will finish on that. Actually, in a sort of way, I do want him to leave Meghan so he can be with me. Don't you think? Don't you think it's a good match? Don't you think it's good?
I'm sure the room would love that. I'm sure the room would love that.
Like a Velcro strap, you get stuck.
Ladies, that brings us to the end of the first episode. Thank you so much for your debate and talk. It's been quite an interesting show, hasn't it, really? And I can tell that I've woken Rachel up and made a mardy because she's had a view on everything tonight. But
we shouldn't cage the beast so long.
I've been looking at Sam all night. She looks like a little reindeer. It looks like she's got antlers.
Ladies, thank you for joining us this evening. We are back now right until July, so make sure you come and see us every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. We've got guest panelists this season. We have old panelists coming back, and we have people to interview. But to find out a bit more, you've got to tune in. So join us next week, next Tuesday, for a brand new panel and a brand new debate. It's been good to be back, ladies, and thank you for fighting me back. I quite like it. Can you thank my panel for this evening? The fabulous and wonderful Claire Browning-May. The person with the big heart, that's Sanjay Hitwell. And the stunner that will never let anybody defeat her, that's Rachel Penny. See you next week. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.